I've never given much thought to how I would make Bella's prom dress into a tart, but making some for a Twilight marathon seems like a good way to figure it out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Story Bakes with Katie Sue. That's right, folks, we're headed back to Forks. These tarts are vegan, not for any thematic purpose, unless we want to count Bella eating a garden burger that one time, but because one of my friends coming to this marathon is vegan, and I'm always up for learning new things. Let's head to the TV for inspiration. Bella has declared her love, the bad vampire is destroyed, and she is afraid of nothing, not even wearing leggings to prom. Oh, Charlie Swan appreciation moment here. Alright, so what do we have to work with? The ruffles on the dress will be piped with a Wilton 104 tip over a mirror glazed interior. In the books, Edward tells Bella that she has a very floral smell, like lavender or freesia. So the inside is made up of a lavender ganache surrounding an oozy strawberry jam, because Bella's most important trait is that she bleeds blood. The black cocoa tart shell represents the boot she's wearing as her broken leg heals, and so obviously I made some white chocolate broken bones to go in them. I need to be stopped. This all gets topped with a few sugar pearls to represent her cardigan. And you're ready to go to prom, you flightless bird. Alright, let's get to the baking. 170 grams of strawberries, 100 grams of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice are boiled to a little over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I'm taking this off the heat and blending it until smooth. The color is a little dull here, so I'm adding some red food coloring to get a vibrant blood red. This gets poured into some half-sphere molds. I only need 6, but I'm making more just in case. You never know. I'm going to let these cool, then stick them in the freezer overnight. I'm saving the rest of the jam to have with toast and oatmeal the rest of the week. I'm using some melted white chips from Enjoy Life to pipe out some bones. This isn't the best angle, but they're bones. I promise. I actually don't care for the taste of this vegan white chocolate substitute. There's no cocoa butter in it, but it's what was available. If you have a favorite vegan white chocolate, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely be looking for alternatives the next time I need it. Now I'll set these aside until we're ready to assemble. For the lavender white chocolate ganache, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of lavender to 64 grams of simmering cream, and this will steep for 15 minutes. After it is steeped, I'm straining it into 256 grams of our disappointing white chips, along with some vanilla. After this sits for 5 minutes, I'm stirring it all together until everything is mixed evenly, then this goes in the fridge to chill for a few hours. Now that it's chilled, I'll scoop it into a bowl and whip it up a bit, then it goes into a piping bag with a Wilton 2A tip. I'm filling these half-sphere molds about 3/4 of the way full, and I had planned on making 6, but didn't have quite enough ganache. I'm taking the jam half-spheres out of their mold, and they didn't get quite as hard as I thought they would. They were in there overnight, so I'm not sure if my freezer doesn't get cold enough for this type of thing or what. I also had trouble with the ganache centers for the green or black House of the Dragon tarts, but I think I read something about ganache not freezing well, or freezing hard. I'm not sure. I'll probably have to experiment with this more. Well, here's hoping the lavender whipped ganache freezes well enough to unmold. These get topped with more ganache and smoothed out, then they go back in the freezer overnight. I made a little more ganache off camera to top the other 4 inserts with. I'm combining 100 grams of pastry flour, 17 grams of almond flour, 45 grams of powdered sugar, and 18 grams of black cocoa. I'd normally add a pinch of salt, but I'm using Earth Balance vegan butter, which is plenty salty all on its own. In goes 57 grams of said Earth Balance, and this is mixed together until it's a sandy texture. Last, I'm mixing in 25 grams of aquafaba, or the liquid from a can of chickpeas, as an egg substitute. If you've never used it, it's really neat. You can even whip it up like a meringue. But no meringue today, I'm just bringing the dough together, rolling it out using 3mm sticks, and lining the tart rings with it. The dough goes in and out of the freezer as needed so it doesn't get too soft to handle. I use tart dough quite a bit on the channel, but this is the first vegan one. I've basically replaced the butter and egg in my normal recipe with vegan alternatives to see how this will go. Because I'm not sure how it will bake up, I'm lining each tart shell with a cupcake liner and filling them with baking beans and pie weights that my friend made for me. Thanks, Stephanie. First, I'm baking them for 20 minutes, then removing the liners and weights. So far, so good. First, I'm mixing 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar into 1 cup of soy milk, then setting it aside for a few minutes to curdle. Into 210 grams of all-purpose flour goes 162 grams of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. The curdled soy milk, 63 grams of vegetable oil, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla get whisked together, then the dry ingredients get added to the wet, and everything is mixed, then poured into the tart shells. I hadn't seen cake baked in tart shells. Usually it would be baked separately, cut and placed in them, but I thought since frangipan is baked in tart shells, why couldn't cake batter? So this gets baked at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 30 minutes, and the cakes need to be trimmed, and the tart shells got a little overdone, almost burnt, so I can see why more people don't do this. I think I'd be baking these separately in the future, but I'm glad I did this little experiment. I'm going to wait to trim the tops off the cakes until assembly so that they don't dry out. Only one more component to go. This is a simple American buttercream, which means it's basically butter and powdered sugar. This is half a cup of softened earth balance that I'm going to whip up with some blue and violet food coloring. Then I'm adding 180 grams of powdered sugar and mixing that in, then adding a bit of almond extract, some vanilla extract, and a splash of soy milk, along with some more food coloring to try to get close to Bella Blue. American buttercream is not my favorite. At least the ones I've had tend to be a bit too sweet for me, and I need to find a vegan butter substitute that I like the taste of more than Earth Balance. I'm using American buttercream here because I don't need very much of it for the design, and it's a lot simpler to make than my favorite Swiss meringue buttercream. You know, I had some leftover condensed coconut milk from making the mirror glaze. I should have tried making a Russian buttercream. Hindsight is 20/20. To get deeper or brighter buttercream colors, you can take some of the buttercream and microwave it, then stir it back into the rest. Something about the heat intensifies the colors. The buttercream goes back in the fridge to harden enough to be pipeable. Alright, let's put it all together. First I'm going to trim the domes off the cake. Then some broken bones go into the boot-themed tart shell. I'm making cuts in the cake to help the broken bone get settled in nice and cozy. For the lavender mousse, I'm stretching the silicone mold to loosen the sides a bit, then popping them out. I was a little nervous about if these would come out cleanly, so I was pleasantly surprised here. Now for some blue vegan mirror glaze. I used the recipe from Gretchen's Vegan Bakery. There's a link to it in the description below, and I think it worked out great. The indent on the sides of the mousse would have been a little bit more of an issue if I wasn't covering up the bottom portion of it with buttercream ruffles, and it'll be something I'll try to improve on in the future. I'm moving these onto the tart bases, then piping 3 layers of ruffles onto them with a Wilton 104 tip to represent the skirt of Bella's dress. I'm placing white sugar pearls on top with some tweezers, which I find essential for precision placement of things like this or other small decorations. And I present to you Bella's prom dress tarts. Now the color is closer to a navy blue than the royal blue of Bella's dress, but I like how the ruffles turned out, even though you can see that the buttercream had started to melt a bit as I piped. Let's cut into it and see if I got the consistency of the jam right. It's important to let these sit in the fridge for several hours before cutting so that the frozen jam can thaw. Excellent. It could flow a little faster, but this is sufficiently oozy for me. Let's see how it tastes. Here we go. Lavender whipped ganache, strawberry jam, vanilla cake, and black cocoa tart shells. Okay, let's break this down. I like the black cocoa tart shell and vanilla cake, but the lavender ganache is too sweet for me. I think issues I have with this tart stem from the Enjoy Life white chips and the Earth Balance sticks. I personally don't enjoy the flavor from these, so the lavender ganache and the buttercream are not my favorites. Next time I do a vegan bake, I'll try out some different ingredients. I do really like the strawberry jam, and the bones don't really stand out in the cake. They're really just there for the giggles. For anyone wondering how the marathon went, we got through 4 out of 5 movies, ate some Italiano, and the weather was appropriately overcast. Hit the like button if you want to see more Twilight-themed bakes, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're so inclined, and let me know in the comments what characters, shows, or movies I should turn into bakes next. Thanks for watching!